So this is the second part of the last video because yeah, I had to sort of stop it in the middle. But so my mother got, and I'm explaining why I'm speaking out about Scientology. I never intended to be a person that would speak out about Scientology. So, and actually, just to reiterate, I'm not against Scientology, but this treatment of other people that they're dishing out and this bullying of my friends, you know, I am not going to, you know, say nothing about this because it needs to stop now. So the bit I got to was I was explaining why I came to the conclusion that I'm going to start talking about this, and I was going over the last couple of years of my life to illustrate why, and so basically up until 2 years ago, I was just super glad that Scientology wasn't in my life anymore, and that was my position. And I can't remember if I told you about my minor rebellion, but I did have one minor rebellion. But you know, I got that out of my system. So, and then so everything kind of just was milling along, and my mother, all the peace came to an abrupt halt the day my mother got hit for thousands of quid, which actually, I was thinking about it last night. I don't know how much it was, but I believe it was around £10,000. It might have been less, it might have been more, but I am happy to be corrected on that one. But so she got hit for how it went is my sister one evening got a phone call from my mum saying, "Can I have some money for some food? Because I haven't got any money." And my sister, went off on one. So that's just to keep, to get you up to speed on where I was. And it turns out that someone had convinced my mother to borrow money from another Scientologist, and because she obviously wasn't in a position to take out a loan at her age, and so she had to pay out X amount back every month, and she really was living on her little pension. She did not have money, so this was a real strain. And I'm not saying they just took advantage of her. That's probably, knowing my mother, my mother was probably behind this too. She was probably like, "Oh, who can we ask?" kind of thing, because she was well into Scientology. So I'm not pinning this all on Scientology, but the way they dealt with it, with my sister, and the subsequent fallout of that was just comical. Because what happened is my sister went off on one. She got very, very upset. Called me, called the organisation, called I don't know who else, probably my brother, probably my other sister. She was absolutely not happy. Um, so, um, so yeah, and that's, I kind of went to sleep that night thinking, oops, they've just upset my sister, and that's never a good look, you know. So, and then, you know, I don't think, nothing really happened, I think, for a couple of days. Then, you know, a couple of days later, I get a tap on my door, and what they'd kind of done was they'd kind of, instead of going, um, oh dear, we've hit a 70-year-old woman pensioner for you know, thousands of quids. She's got no food left, and we've badly upset her daughter. Oops, let's sort this out. You know, instead of doing that, they'd kind of gone, um, Louise must have been responsible for this. And that is quite literally what they did. They'd kind of gone, it's created a great big public relations disaster. It's Louise's fault. That no, there was no, you know, oh God, this woman has no food. What, you know, we've got to sort this out quickly. It was, oh no, our reputation is at stake. Let's, you know, it's Louise's fault. Let's go and sort Louise out now, because she was clearly behind this thing. And I'm like, no, I wasn't, I swear. You know, so that was my position. I'm going, no, I didn't. I had nothing to do with this. I think you'll find you had something to do with this, not me. You know, so that's kind of how it batted back and forth for quite some time. It ended up getting worse and worse and worse. And the more I kind of went, well, frankly, you know, even if I was behind it, don't you think it was a bit wrong? And that kind of, you know, it ended up at, I was definitely behind this public relations disaster, and now I need to have justice, and that is really how it ended up. So I'm out of the blue fighting my corner, and it really is. I have a twig, and everyone's coming at me with Uzis, you know, and nuclear warheads, and I'm trying to fight everyone off with my twig, and it just wasn't fun, you know. It started getting very unamusing, you know, because I was being taken to St. Hill, and you know, and I was told, I was basically told, you have to have a committee of evidence. A committee of evidence has to be formed so that we can get to the bottom of this public relations disaster that you've caused. And so how that goes is, in Scientology you have a thing called, you have a thing called justice, most certainly, because they're quite good at that one. But the thing they have, they call it a committee of evidence, where you have a board of Scientologists, I think probably 5 or 6. You have the person, the person who's misbehaved, who kind of turns up to this thing, and then they have this very long list of high crimes, super duper high crimes, you know, and then incredibly super duper high crimes on top of that, where you do one of those and you're finished, you're toast, you're out on your ear kind of thing. Well, I never really studied properly, and I've never really got into the whole thing, and I'm not entirely interested, but that's roughly how it goes. And Scientologists have this remarkable ability to, you sneeze. Someone could sneeze, and this list of high crimes, super duper high crime list, covers, you really could sneeze and they'll find a section for that where it'll roughly fit. And they'll convince themselves and whoever else is listening that you're in fact trying to take Scientology down because you sneezed. And that's why I didn't get into having one of these things, because it gets into a big blame fest, basically. There's no, the mere fact that they weren't even willing to look at the fact that my mother was left with no food, and no one trotted round with some food for her. They just went, get Louise, she is behind this. So it was just, that's very typical of Scientology and how their kind of little minds go when it comes to that kind of thing. And actually, I'm going to slip this in now, because this is actually another diabolical example of exactly the same thing. One of my siblings has a child, and about, I would say, 9 or 10 years ago, I had a call from this sibling, and she said that she suspected her daughter was being groomed by a Scientologist, a male Scientologist, who was trying to get her into compromise. Luckily, nothing happened, but he was trying to get her into compromising positions with another child so he could take photographs. So effectively, he was a paedophile grooming this girl, or attempting to groom her. And I said to my sister, contact social services immediately, get it reported, contact the police, don't go to OSA, because they're just going to want to cover that up. This man isn't, he's going to be let loose, and he could potentially hurt a kid unless you do it properly, because there's no way Scientology's going to go and report him and get him, properly get it addressed. So the next thing I found out, I can't remember what happened with that, but I know my niece was okay, and I know I'm fairly sure my sister did report it. The next thing that happens is I get summoned to OSA, and I have a dressing down for advising my sister to report this man to the authorities, because I'd put Scientology's reputation at risk. This is why. This is why I'm how I am with Scientology. And it's not Scientology's beliefs. And anyone who tries to hide behind religious discrimination when they're behaving that badly, well, that in itself is really, that's just trickery, because that's leaning on the kindness of the justice system of the country to protect your religion. So they're leaning on that to get away with blue murder, and that's not on, you know. So anyhow, that's I was summoned to this thing, this COMEV, and I refused. And then, and I'm back to my mother now. So, and it was very much Louise was behind this. You know, now I'm on their list of people to sort out, because OSA has a list of, they call it unhandled situations, and I became one at that point because I was refusing to admit to causing this public relations disaster, mostly because there was nothing to admit to, and also I was refusing to join in with their justice, because why would I, frankly? I haven't had, you know, I was in the organisation 2 decades ago. Why on earth would I bend to that, you know? So, so yeah. So that's, yeah. So then it became, and also within my little family with my siblings, some are and some aren't, and I'm on the aunt side, you know, when it comes to Scientology. But of us all, I'm the only one that I'm not vocal as such, but if I'm asked directly, I will be truthful. Whereas my other siblings will just kind of skip around and go, no, we like Scientology. So I end up being the one that gets, you know, if anything ever goes belly up on this subject, it's always me that's behind it, apparently, because I'm the only one that's willing to tell the truth, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, that's not the point, and I'm not blaming my siblings because I know what it's like. So, so anyhow, so I'm doing this thing's going on, and it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And then the next thing that happens is my family member, who's by this time all over me like a rash on this subject, because he's the one that's pretty much pointed, you know, the finger in my direction of she's behind it, and let's get justice, you know, kind of thing. So he's kind of all over this whole thing like a rash. I'm being summoned here and there, and you know, I've got to go to St. Hill to bat off these allegations, and I've got to, you know, and then he goes through my Facebook, and he discovers I have some Facebook friends that aren't acceptable. So then I'm in trouble for that too, and frankly, I didn't take them. I mean, I'd hidden my Facebook friend list quite some time before that. Though what he'd done is he'd gone to known or whistleblowers of Scientology and looked on their pages, and the ones that didn't have their friends list hidden, well, on a couple he got lucky and saw my name. So then I got reported for that too, and so I'm then batting off that allegation, and I'm going, no, you are not going to dictate to me who I can or cannot talk to. For a start, it's none of your business. For a second, you know, it's just, it's such a travesty of everything. Every, you know, for a religion, not even my religion, to tell me who I can talk to and order me not to talk to whoever it is they don't want me to talk to because they don't want me to. I know, that's not going to happen. So that's not going to happen. So I stuck my foot in the ground on that one too. And so I just found myself going, I'm absolutely just plodding along normally, to I'm in extreme trouble out of the blue. And the more I tried to stay true to what I thought, the worse it was getting for me. And then, and then what happened is my family member, who was really now heavily kind of gunning for me to have justice, approaches me, and we go sit down. He says, okay, I'm going to help you. So I'm like, really? So we go and sit in the pub, and he wants me to tell him the logic behind this is he wants me to just tell him everything I think about Scientology, because he feels that, well, this is how it went. He felt that if I could put everything down, what he'll do is he'll get it all noted down. They could then address every single point, and any misconceptions I have or any falsehoods can get ironed out, and and then we'll get this sorted out. We'll get we'll get it sorted out, kind of thing. And I was mightily dubious at this new strategy, but I actually genuinely thought to myself, well, at the time, well, frankly, I have nothing to lose now, because it would actually be helpful to me if I liked Scientology, just simply because my family are involved. It was, if I didn't have this deep mistrust of Scientology, life would be so much easier for me, because my family is involved in it and my friends were involved in it. So I thought, okay, I have nothing to lose. If they can, if I've got misconceptions, I'm happy to look at that. If I've got things that I need to get addressed, I'm happy to look at that. So sorry. So we sit down, and I promptly begin to tell him everything I can think of regarding Scientology that I think is wrong, and everything, every conclusion I've come to, and I was a little thorough, I admit, but I thought, okay, maybe Scientology, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's okay, and I'm the wrong one that's got a problem, So I promptly tell him everything, every possible, thing that's gone through my head, what I've observed, what, you know, problems I've had with it, you know, things people have done, you know, all the things I think are wrong with it, and then I kind of thought, okay, well, you know, let's see where that goes. If they can sort me out and convince me Scientology's okay, well then, you know, something good's come from this, because, you know, maybe I was wrong, kind of thing. So yeah, so that happens, and then absolutely hear nothing. You know, he goes off, and that's the last I heard of that list. About quite some time later, my mum, my mother, tells me that what he did with my list, he'd actually written everything that I'd told him into a report, as an example of how opposed I am to Scientology. So, you know, aside from anything else, what he actually did by sitting me down to get me to tell him all this stuff was thoroughly stir it up for me. After spending years not even thinking about it, thoroughly stirred it up for me, whilst allowing me to think he's trying to help me, but in fact leaving me totally annoyed and stirred up and back on a rampage about how awful Scientology is, and not helping me at all, but using that to support his case that I'm off the rails, you know. So that was really not on. Anyway, so it just went on and on and on and on, and then the disconnection started. And it started with this family member. And so one day I get a tap on my door, and he's there, and he says, I need to talk to you. And I said, okay, you know, come and talk to me. He says, so sit down. And then he says, you know, I'm going to disconnect from you. And he was the first one. And he goes, so I'm going to disconnect from you. And I just thought, great. Amazing. That's, you know, I just thought, about bloody time. So, and then it was like, great, you know, now this is, if he's disconnected, this is gonna go away. Because if he's disconnected, he's just going to get on with his own thing. He's going to leave me alone, and this can all settle down, and it will be okay. So I was like, okay, we'll disconnect then, and off you trot, you know. So, and he did. And I thought at that point it's died down, and it's just going to go away. So it didn't go away, because he was still at it in the background. And I'm not, you know, I know I'm making this sound like it is all him, but frankly, it was all him. It was all him. I wasn't doing anything at the time. I really wanted to just get on with my life without ever bumping into Scientology again at that point. I mean, since that time, yes, now he has a point, because now I'm speaking out. Now I'm upset. now I'm talking to people about it, but not because, not because I'm upset with Scientology or it's because I've just experienced couple of years of disconnections, of being pulled through a hedge backwards, being mistreated because of this family member. So now he can safely go, yes, Louise is kicking up her heels. I was right. No, you're wrong. I wasn't kicking up my heels. Before this started, I really wasn't kicking up my heels. So anyway, so this is why I'm speaking out, because disconnection is alive and well. Scientology will lie through their teeth and say, even on national television, that disconnection doesn't happen. No, disconnection very much does happen, and it's not voluntary. People are asked and told to step away from you. My godfather my godfather, who is my second father. After my father died, he's my little rock that I always knew was there. I didn't lean on him ever, but it was always, I knew I could if he was there. And he's been in my life all my life. He ended up disconnecting with one message, not even to my face. One of my friends, one of the first ones to go, came to see me for a coffee and said, they've asked me to go to St. Hill. It's about you. I'm going to call you when I get there, and if we need to get this sorted, you come in, and there's no way I'm going to disconnect from you. This was over a year ago. She went to St. Hill. She will cross the road if she sees me. She's never uttered a word to me since. I have no idea why, what she's been told. I've had another person coming to see me and saying, look, I am so sorry, but I need to I want to finish my course, and I can't if I'm connected to you. And I just said, okay, if you disconnect, finish your course, it's fine. I'm not anti people being on Scientologists, so it's just it's just it's not, it's just they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot, because they've taken a perfectly happy, not happy, but a perfectly a situation that wasn't even a situation, and I was just plodding along with my life, doing my thing, and they've made a critic, a whistleblower, by mistreating someone, and people talk. If one person who's upset with Scientology, they'll talk to people. People talk to each other. It's, word of mouth is, it's powerful, so don't, anyway, so that's really, I have to get the doorbell.